Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
on a lovely spring March day.
Indeed.
Hope everyone got out and voted. Seemed like a good turnout when I was there. So I guess we'll find out after this meeting how everything.
It was back tonight.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm Andrew Koff. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. Let's introduce everyone, starting with Michelle.
Michelle Crapo.
Connor Madison.
Nick Campion.
Trevor Matera.
Keith Whitehouse.
Dave Short.
Don Clement.
Bill Campbell.
Kristen Murphy, Conservation and Sustainability Planner.
And there's no public here to comment, so we'll move right into our action items. First, we have Dave Sharples here, our town planner. He's going to introduce this urbanized exemption project.
Thank you. First, I got to say I'm pretty impressed about the turnout. Thank you for your service. I didn't expect 9 people here. Is that always the case? That's
Yep.
great. That's great. Thank
We're
you for your
missing 2.
Thank you for your commitment. Yeah, and I saw that, and I'm like, what? I don't usually see that. So, I'm here to ask to discuss with you an urbanized exemption request from the state shoreland requirements, and it is not a municipal regulation. It's through the state, and the process for it is to the select board in the governing body, or the select board in Exeter, would make a request to the state, to the DES commissioner. The DES commissioner passes on that recommendation to the Office of State Planning, and they make a recommendation back to the commissioner, and the commissioner approves or denies the request. So we have shoreland, I'm sure I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but shoreland's it's a state law that applies to all Great Lakes, ponds, and rivers and streams of 5th order and higher. So in Exeter, it's, the Swampscott obviously is one of them. Exeter, Little River. Is there any others? The state shoreline? Yeah, the Swampscott, the Exeter, and the Little River all apply. And what it is it basically goes from the ordinary high water mark of the water body that's protected out 250 feet. And if there's any proposed development or certain activities that are proposed in there, they have to get what's called the shoreland permit. Something small, under like 1,500 square feet, can be a permit by notification. Anything over that goes through full state review. But the state law allows for an exemption request, and I'll just read it right from the state RSA. The governing body of a municipality may, in its discretion, request the commissioner to exempt all or a portion of the protected shoreline within its boundaries from the provisions of this chapter if the governing body finds that special local urbanization conditions as defined in RSA 483B4 Roman numeral 25 exist in the protected shoreline for which the exemption is sought. So just to fill in what that means, the definition of urbanization means the concentrated development found in the section of towns or cities where there has been a historic pattern of intensive building for residential, commercial, industrial, or mixed uses such that it contributes to or constitutes the municipality's downtown, community center, or central business district, and wherein all vegetative buffers have been depleted, impervious surfaces are in excess of 50%, and residential uses are at least 10 dwelling units per acre. So that's the definition. This area that I'm about to show you does meet that. And instead of just going to the select board, I decided to go to the planning board and then the Conservation Commission. I was initially just going to have a conversation with them, ask questions, but the planning board reviewed it at their last meeting. They wanted to vote in support of it, so I was like, okay, we ran with that train. So they voted to support it, and now I'd come to you to see if you would support it or have a conversation and questions. What I'm asking for is the shoreland covers, like I said, a lot of Exeter, all along the, Swampscott, the Exeter, and the Little River. What the exemption request is this, it's kind of tough to see, but you all have that in the packet too. There's a red hatched area right here. But basically here is the old DTC building. This is the entrance to Swayze Parkway right here. And there's a parking lot. PA owns the DTC building now. And it goes across, includes Stewart Park here. Here's the PA boat launch. This is all along Water Street. Then it does include this the island, for a lack of a better word, on String Bridge. And it only covers this side of the river from, from Swayze down to String Bridge. It does not, I purposely did not include the mills because there's a lot of, while it's disturbed and it's grass, it still could, it still could be built, developed, so forth. So I didn't include that in the exemption request. I did, and then across the river, I only included the library and part of Founders Park here. And then the rest continues along String Bridge, and then it terminates right here. This is the long block right next to Great Bridge. So this exemption would, if approved by the state, they wouldn't, anybody proposing any development here wouldn't trigger a shoreline permit. And your regulations in Exeter, you already do exempt this from our regulations. I don't know why the intent, but I'm guessing it's because there is no natural resources, to protect anymore. The buffers have been depleted. It's basically the only non-impervious surface area in the entire thing is Stewart Park right here and along this strip right along here, and that is all fill. That was with this right here, all this here, this roadway and this planted vegetation here along there is all fill. That was the riverbed in the late 80s, and they filled it in the early 90s. So and then there's a little bit of vegetation that the recently acquired Pearpoint Park, and then across the street in Founders Park. So the only three places that have any vegetation left are all in town ownership. It would also, like someone, this developer came in right here. I think they added 7 units back here, and they did some work back here for an access way, and planted a little thing, and they needed to go through the
I
shoreline.
remember they came to us and there was like the parking lots, right? They changed the parking right there.
Yeah, for a shoreline permit, because it triggered a shoreline permit. And my last time I did this in a prior community, we got the same exemption. The state doesn't even want to see these. They're like, what resources is there protect? So they would,
Right.
I would imagine, want to see this exemption request. I mean, Dover, Rochester, Manchester, Concord, I believe, a lot of the downtowns in New Hampshire that have major, water bodies through them, ask and receive these exemption requests. So I just came here to want to get your thoughts, what your thinking is, if you have any questions on it. I mean, it only exempts the red hatched. Anything north, south, east, or west of that, still subject to the shoreline. We're only asking for exemption for basically the downtown area.
Do the rest of our town ordinances then apply? Like the heights of the buildings and that sort of thing?
Everything, it doesn't touch or change any local regulations. No municipal regulations are changed. All it does is it exempts this area from
Having to go to the
obtaining a shoreline permit through the state. That's all it does.
But should there be any work within the river or, within the high water mark, it would still require a state permit from wetlands?
Yeah, it comes up to, the shoreline starts at the ordinary high water mark, wherever that's determined to be. It's basically somewhere right along the river's edge, somewhere up that steep bank. The banks are pretty steep, pretty much all through here. So wherever DES would determine where the ordinary high water mark, anything riverside of the ordinary high water mark, nothing changes. You still have to follow all the state wetlands rules.
So like the Ioka decks that we reviewed that were a
would still
little
see
wet
that.
yesterday, we would have still reviewed them.
You would have still seen that because
That was a wetland permit.
it's the ordinary high water mark. This only goes from the ordinary high water mark into shore 250. So that's where the delineation is. So over the water, this won't exempt that.
Any comments, questions?
Is this exception like indefinite? Is it good until the next
Yeah.
rule change?
Yeah, I mean, they can always change state laws, but I received one, I think, back in mid-2000s.
And it's still good.
It's still there. I mean, it doesn't expire. I guess, under your point, though, that's a good point. If the legislature decides to change it,
Yeah. Up
then
until
they
then,
can.
no.
Up until then, it lasts. And then historic density, I just wanted to because there's quite a few things that you have to talk about, but did we all get this in the 1884 map?
yes.
And it actually looks like it was more dense in 1884 than it is today. I was surprised to see that, because like Founder's Park had buildings all over.
All
looks
over
like.
it, yeah.
So, and there were a lot more buildings down by Stewart Park than there is today. There was like, 2 or 3 buildings deep there. So that was interesting to see.
That's where they used to build boats.
Yeah.
The boats would come up there and unload. So, Mr. Chairman, back about a little over 15 years ago, I was on the Exeter River Local Advisory Committee, and there was a state representative on the Exeter River Local Advisory Committee, and we advocated with him to submit a bill. He submitted a bill to the state legislature to allow tidal rivers to be part of the Rivers Protection Program, because before that, only freshwater rivers were. And of course, at that time, the Exeter River was part of that program. Myself and a few other people from town went to the State House and lobbied and, with him, and his bill passed. So as a result, tidal rivers like the Swampscott became eligible for the River Protection Program. Upon passage of that bill, myself and Pete Richardson advocated and went and testified to DES, to the Rivers Management Program, to get the rest of the Exeter River, the downtown area, and the Swampscott nominated to be part of the New Hampshire Rivers Protection Program. And we were successful. I believe the Swampscott River became the first tidal river in the state of New Hampshire to get that designation, soon very quickly followed by the Oyster River and the Lamprey. My point being here is that some of us, myself included, worked very, very hard to try to protect the Swampscott River, and even in the downtown area. And I think the fact, because it's urban and it's built up, it needs more protection. It's better protected if we have the state overlooking the shoreline. Some people may not agree, I understand. I think the fact that if we allow people to come in and not have to go to shoreline, we have no way of knowing whether our river, and I understand we have town regulations, our river's protected. We've gone a long ways in protecting the Swampscott River, the Swampscott River being one of the major tributaries to Great Bay. We all have gone through the process, or have not gone through the process, but have know about the fact that, we have to improve the nitrogen load in Great Bay, and, there's many, many contributing factors, runoff being one of them. The other fact is that I think just 2 months ago, most of that downtown behind there was underwater.
Yeah.
And I think the parking lot where the Academy's day school parking lot was underwater. Almost the entire Swayze Parkway was underwater. And so, in some places, the water, we're talking 2 or 3 feet deep. It's an area that's very prone to flood. Just this weekend, we had another flood, not as significant, but I thought it was interesting that on Friday, Facebook, the New Hampshire Public Works Department issued a Facebook warning that says, potential minor flood warning, telling people, be very careful this weekend, we're going to get flooding, make sure, don't park your cars back there, et cetera, et cetera. So I think what we're seeing is this event is going to be events of flooding because of sea rise, because of climate change, is going to happen more and more. And I think just that fact tells me that we need more protection. And I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to vote tonight because I'm an alternate, but if I could vote, I would vote no on this. I think it takes away a fundamental protection that we shouldn't take away. And I realize in some cases it puts an extra burden on a developer, but that's the way it should be. because we're dealing with a natural resource, the Exeter River, which is important to us, important to a lot of people, the Squamsock, which is very important to the health of Great Bay, and I think having extra, a layer of oversight is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So that's my pitch. Thank you.
Dave, what is the advantage of getting the exemption?
Because in my opinion, it doesn't really, while I hear all of Don's comments and don't disagree, I don't think that the Shoreland Protection Act does anything to add protection to this area. I don't. Because they look at it, it's already impervious, there's no natural buffer. Their rules are set up, when you read the Shoreland Protection Act, it doesn't talk about flooding. It talks about, natural resource areas where none exist. So it doesn't have any effect. If you want to get to where I think Don is, I would suggest, you do floodplain ordinances, and we have some, and we added the freeboard to that, so inundated and flooding. Stormwater, our stormwater regs are probably the most, I think, best in the state, because we're one of the, I think, only communities that regulates removal of nitrogen and phosphorus, and state doesn't do that. So if those are the regulations at the local level that will protect this area and redevelopment. That's my opinion. I'm not sure if you can quote me somewhere in 483 that actually adds a layer of protection. That's what kind of where I'm coming from. I'm not sure what
I'm not reading 483 right now.
B adds to the protection of this resource, given the existing built environment along.
So you think there's existing measures already in place that address Don's concerns?
Well, yeah, I think you could make them more stringent, but I don't think that this exemption affects that at all.
This doesn't add any.
I don't think it removes any. It removes a process that I see as, and according to the state, when I talk to them, they're like, "Yeah, we love these because you come in with something. Someone comes in for a shoreline permit at the Swampscott block, next to the town hall. I mean, it's just a paperwork exercise. They have nothing, their rules to apply to anything. So they just approve it and go through the exercise. That's my understanding of it. I've read the act. I don't, I was like, if you want to protect it with local regs. I don't know how much the state does.
You and I can disagree. It's okay.
Yeah, I understand.
I understand. I just like an additional layer of oversight, that's all.
Yeah, I think in 9 times out of 10, I would 100% agree with where Don's coming from. And agree with the values of it. But in this case, I agree with Dave that I think these regulations, specifically shoreline, is using a tool that really doesn't offer us any kind of protection here, because it's like trying to use a hammer when you need a wrench. I mean, it's shoreline specifically cares about the increase of impervious as opposed to the buffer and the effects you'll have on the buffers. And because in this case there is no vegetated buffer here, there would be no change to impervious surface. That tool, as Dave is mentioning here, doesn't actually provide us anything, and the oversight is basically just a waste of process. In which case, if we wanted to actually buckle down and protect that area, there's other regulatory mechanisms that would be much better equipped to actually do something where people could actually weigh in and make decisions on it, as opposed to what we're seeing here, which is a wash when it comes to impervious surface.
That's why I purposely didn't include this area, because of that. Because it's not impervious surface. It's developed, but I wouldn't want to do an exemption on that. When you have basically 90, I didn't calculate it. I could, but it's high 90% impervious.
I wonder if somebody comes with a project, whether if they wanted to do some work in the back there in that area, would they have to come to the Conservation Commission for anything, or which they would have to do if they had to file with the state? They'd have to come, and at least we'd know what would be going on. I don't want to go down and see a big change down there, somebody building a 5-story building or something, and we've never seen it.
Well, so there is not a requirement for shoreland applications to come to the Conservation Commission.
No?
The local advisory committee, so in this case, ESER-LAC, is the entity that reviews shoreland applications. It comes to the Conservation Commission sometimes because you have a wetland and a shoreland application, so you
Right.
see them both.
And this isn't like a, I don't know, to use just a regular phrase, like hill I'll die on. It almost does, like, it's like, okay, it's something that the state, and we own a couple of properties, but it's not that big of an effect either way. If the Concom's like, let's not do it, I just won't bring it forward.
Well, something that's on the agenda, sort of, not on this agenda, but is the Pierpont Park. Now, does that make it easier? Because I would think that if we want to do some bulwark or some work at that park, we would have, under the present regulations, we'd have to go to the state. And this
Correct.
eliminates that because that's in that district.
Correct.
Does that make it easier then? Do we still get?
Easier? Yeah, there's one
We'd
less.
probably be able to review it because it's shoreland, isn't it?
One less step in the process is what it would be.
But
So
I don't want to eliminate the process of us being able to comment on it.
Again, if there aren't wetland impacts, it typically would not come to the Conservation Commission for a shoreland application.
Because I've seen some here, I don't.
Yeah,
guess I haven't.
yeah. They tend to come because there is a wetland application associated with it,
Or work in the river.
or work in the river.
Because it's not Ioga anymore, but the Ioga Theater, there was no wetlands filled, but they were working in the river.
They did receive a wetland application.
They had to do a wetlands
Yeah.
application
Yep,
because of that, even though there wasn't per
Right,
se
they were-
wetlands involved.
Correct.
But there was a river involved.
correct. Yes, I see your point.
And anything the town does there, if and when they do something there, which I believe they will, I think there'll be plenty of public input process in that before
They're not going to be able to put a Ferris wheel up right away then.
they're not gonna be able to put a Ferris wheel up right away. You'll hear about it first. I'm sure you will.
All right.
My only, well, I have two things. First, I'd like to appoint Dawn to be a voting member, because Kyle's not here. If that's okay with you, Dawn.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Would you like to be a voting member?
No,
tonight?
I don't know if there's,
I was remiss, yeah, Kyle's not here, so we
Okay,
need
yeah,
an additional voting.
sure.
member. So
Thank you.
Be happy to have you do that.
Thank you.
Would, in like the part, I'm just thinking of flooding is the issue of the day down in this zone. I think to Don's point is, let's say there's the parking area, I don't know if there's additional space in there that's private that could be built upon and that would cause water to be, like during a flooding event, that would hold back more water or change the nature of the flooding downtown. I guess that would, what levers do we have in terms of development within this area as it relates to flooding within that zone in the floodway? Since we know we're certainly within that flood zone downtown, and so it might not be impervious cover, but could there be additional building, and how would that be reviewed by the town?
Yeah, so we do have local zoning that would step in. Site plan
Right.
regulations would require stormwater. We have floodplain regulations in our zoning ordinance, so all of those would still apply.
And we raised the floodplain, I'm sure we
Right.
came to you folks, right?
Yeah, in
Asked
the
for-
I think
ordinance
so,
last
yeah.
year.
Yeah, we raised it from 1 foot freeboard to 2 feet of freeboard, meaning the lowest part of the lowest structural member needs to be at least 2 feet above the flood. And then if it is, I haven't seen a floodplain map. I can't remember exactly where this floodplain is, but if it's in the floodway, then it has to have hydrostatic venting to let water in and let it out. So it doesn't it doesn't keep it a wall.
Right.
But I don't know exactly where those lines are.
Right, and that's a whole separate process from shoreline.
It is. Shoreland's not gonna review
Right, I
any
think
of
of
that.
shoreline permits with like houses on lakes and
Yeah.
cutting of trees to, because the homeowner wants to clear cut their lawn in front of their house so they can see the lake, but they're not allowed to.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's for, and it continues on. I mean, anywhere this hatched isn't, the Swampscott River all the way, to Stratham, still covered under shoreline on both sides. The up against Hayes Mobile Home Park, that whole area, that will still remain all in the shoreline all the way up to String Bridge on the north side.
Helps if I look at the map, right side up, Bill.
It helps.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I mean, shoreland is great, but ultimately, it's focused on vegetation and impervious surface, and the effects to vegetation and the increase in impervious surface. And in this case, if there was a project in this area, what's going to happen is it would trigger shoreland, there would be no wetlands. It wouldn't come here, and shoreland to DES would be like, why is this in front of us? Because there'll be no change to the, the give and take of impervious
We all
surface, and
have
they'll be like, okay.
better things to do.
Right.
And usually redevelopment, if it goes to the site plan, ends up in less impervious surface area.
Right.
Just like that one that came, they put granted it was a small area, but they added like 90, 100 square feet of plantings and so forth where there was pavement. So it actually decreased the impervious surface area, especially if you trigger our stormwater usually.
So I guess that's one good hypothetical. So if you are looking for a lever to decrease impervious surface, is shoreland a good place for that? Or is it, again, sort of at the planning board or in the local reg somewhere, that would be a better lever for controlling, if a developer is actually decreasing the footprint of impervious surface within this area?
Yeah, I've never seen anything in the shoreline that requires reducing your IA.
No.
And your grandfathered, there's vested rights that you can build on what you got.
Yeah.
So, but I think if you're trying to get there, that's tough because if it's pre-existing non-conforming, you can't make them make it smaller if they're tearing it down sometimes.
Right.
As long as unless it's been abandoned for, I think what is that, a year, at least a year, then zoning will, with no effort to keep it alive, and they abandon that use for a year, then zoning would apply, but that's extremely rare.
Yeah.
People don't do that, so you can do it with local regulations, but it will happen so few and far between.
Yep.
Because I'm not sure the impervious area of this has changed much since 1884, to be when I look at this, the old map.
I had a couple more on that. So I agree, Trevor, it would just be a permit by notification for shoreline. It's like a simple 5-day thing. Just because I don't know the Exeter regs off the top of my head. Our shoreland protection district, do we know the bounds of that? I was looking it up, but I couldn't find it quickly.
I can get a zoning map, but
It's not overly important.
The shoreline protection district that you often see conditional use permits for exempts the waterfront commercial area, likely because
of this.
of the development. So yeah, those wouldn't apply.
That
And it Dave, right, waterfront commercial is essentially all of Water Street. I think it continues.
It stops this. I don't think I think that's that's C1, I think.
Okay.
I think that one might be C1, but this is waterfront. I gotta go get the zoning.
Yeah,
map.
I could-
I should know
But I
that.
guess my
Makes sense
example is
to
that
line those up.
it's already exempted from our,
Well, you could just keep it, but I did it what made sense from
Sure.
an IA standpoint, impervious surface area standpoint. That's the way I drew it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay.
So Dave, I have a question. There's half a dozen dead ash trees right by the String Bridge, by the corner of the library. So can those be removed, or do we need to let them fall? How's that work?
I think if I remember correctly, the shoreline has for dead, diseased, unsafe. has an exception for that.
Okay.
So usually when we do, if you go get, I've done this before, not here in Exeter, but I've done it before in New Hampshire. And you go get an arborist to, take a look at it, and he writes a little letter saying, yeah, it's unsafe, or it's hazardous, or, it's diseased, or it's dead. And then you can go take it down. You don't pull the roots out, you just cut it at the base
And remove the tree.
and remove the tree.
But-
You can already do that,
Thank you.
but,
Yeah, you can cut them down as long as you don't disturb the soil, which is where the root is,
Yeah, as
Yeah.
long as they're
in the bank.
unhealthy.
exactly, they have to, usually, if,
It's complicated if everything's healthy. You have
usually,
to do
what
it
I would
once.
do, prior community where I kind of was in charge of that, not necessarily here with the but I would ask for a letter from an arborist.
Okay.
So like at home, I'd be like, okay, I want an arborist to, write and say, this, this is what's going on with this tree before it can be removed.
Very good. Thank you.
What was the justification for half the park by the library there?
I think it was just a lot line thing. I was talking to Kristen, asked that same question. I think it was just a lot line thing, because some reason Founders Park is 2 lots or something. I could just cut it off at the end of the library. I mean, it didn't really matter to me. It was more just a function of, I think isn't there a lot line right there or something? I don't know.
Yeah, it looks
There
like
it is, yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
Let's go right
to just make it easy on parcels, that's what I did, so.
But if you do go out there, so it kind of goes to the pen stock, basically, if you look at it on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, if the if the commission feels that, not include that, I'm fine with that. It was just more a function of just keeping it on the, each property, And then it comes out, where it goes out, it doesn't follow property lines on this side, because this simply represents a 250-foot buffer off of the edge of the river.
Right.
Cool.
I'd say that one part of the park is the only real green space in there, I guess, other than the Pearpoint lot too. They're both town-owned, and they're designated parks, so we're not gonna develop those. Okay, any other discussion? Do we wanna
All set.
vote? Make a motion?
Where's the script? Where's the script?
So I can make a motion. I'll motion that we've reviewed the application and are in support of this application.
Second.
It's not, it's not an application. Is it? It is an
Yeah,
application,
it is.
okay.
I don't know if there's it was seconded. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
All right, the motion passes. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
All right,
It's an old picture. Shows the dam.
so
This picture shows the dam here.
what's next? We have some things to report on. I feel like it's been a busy last month. There's definitely a lot going on. There's a lot coming up, so, do we have any property management?
No.
No? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So property management, just an update on Rains Barn. The we received, if you remember, we received a $20,000 Moose Plate grant. And so Dave and I were talking, and he had some contractors he could recommend. And so I submitted yesterday, I think it was, the paperwork to DNCR in order to receive the $20,000, in hopes that we can enter into a contract to get as much as we can done for $20,000, which I'm hoping at least is the west face, exterior face of the barn, so the roadside, and possibly some of the north side. Possibly. So I'm excited for that to move forward. In terms of the L-CHIP grant, we're at the 50% mark. I filed paperwork back in November, December with the state. They need to conduct a site visit, review the paperwork and approve to authorize the additional funds. So that's 50%, and then I think it's like a third and a third, or that doesn't work out, a half and a half, I guess. And so in talking with them, there was a little bit of pushback, I must say, and it's a bit frustrating. I had informed them that we did not receive the hometown grant, which I think I mentioned at the last Conservation Commission meeting.
Right.
Actually, no,
Email.
I
You got
haven't.
it.
Yeah, I sent it by email. So we also did not receive the hometown grant, which the 20,000 Moose Plate plus the hometown grant would have kind of addressed the shortfall that we have. L-CHIP was aware that we were applying for that, so I let them know we did not get it, but we're still committed to finishing that project. But there was conversation about adjusting the payments. Since we're not completing the full project, perhaps they shouldn't offer the full award. And so obviously that was a little frustrating to me, because we're already in a contract for the full award, under contract for the full award. This was a part of the conversation from the very start with L-CHIP, and they advised me to go this alternate route of a phased project, where the first phase is what we're doing now, and the second phase happens when we have the funds. Not at any time did they ever say that second phase would limit payment, final payment. And so I have a memo so it goes to two different levels of review with L-CHIP. The first is just staff review, and then it goes to, I think it's a board of directors, and that happens later this month. I have basically documentation and justification for why, in my opinion, that's not appropriate, especially given the fact that they were aware of it, and we've entered into a contract for the full amount. Having said that, because we are at the 50% mark, Stephen, and it's winter, I'm kind of glad, but Stephen has not been out there, and I'm not encouraging him to go out there until this gets sorted, which should happen in the next week or two. So I guess there was something to talk about with rates.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but the good news is we're going to get there. I'm hopeful that with the documentation I have, they'll, I think it's just correspondence with an individual that's kind of trying to steer the ship, and I think the broader organization might realize that doesn't quite make sense in this situation.
I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
I really hope that's the case.
Well, if you need support from us, or if you want me to read a letter or whatever,
Yeah. Okay.
I can review something that's
Thank you.
important.
Yeah.
It's a competitive world for grant money.
Yeah.
You know that.
Though we already competed and were awarded,
Yeah,
and it was competitive at that time too.
Yep.
yeah.
It's just illogical. Anyway, so
Okay. Well, that's property management.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the T-Mobile being out,
yeah.
granted, we could reapply next year. What are the prospects for getting funds looking like at this point? Are we hopefully back voting on it on this night next year?
That would be my hope. My intention is the barn continues to deteriorate further and further, and the longer we wait, the more expensive the repairs are. So
Yeah.
I feel like a CIP item makes
Right.
sense. And I
Agreed.
think that we should move in that direction in the upcoming year. I would not apply for another T-Mobile hometown grant.
Okay.
It's like 2 strikes, and
Yeah.
I'm just not getting the kind of feedback, that I feel it's worth the effort. But,
Right.
I could be reconvinced, I guess.
I think I share your sentiment. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you recall, maybe it was when we first found out that it wasn't going to be in this year's proposed budget or CIP, I was annoyed because why would we start a project and then just get it to a point where we're 50, 60, 70% done and then say, we'll hope we'll get the rest with a grant.
Yeah.
That's, to me, doesn't seem right. So I would
Right.
advocate, and I know Nancy's going to watch this meeting.
Yep.
I would advocate that we make it a priority to get this funded appropriately.
And to be fair, there was support for Rains Barn in the budget process. The challenge was this was a heavy lift year. There was significant, there was significant staffing increases, pay-wise in order to bring certain positions up to the region in order to attract people to public works, specifically where we have 11 vacancies. And so it wasn't that we don't care about Rains, it was just that, let's kind of hold on that for now because it's not the year for it.
I hope next year is.
Well, it's a matter of advocating for
Right.
it. And so, I do think we put it in the CIP, and there are many opportunities that members of the commission could come and speak to the planning board when they're reviewing the CIP, to the budget committee when this item comes up. So there's lots of ways to advocate for that if you feel strongly enough.
I do.
Yeah, I think we should push for that. I think that's a
Would
really
you,
good point, Nick.
would we go the route of specifically asking for a CIP for Rains Barns improvements or work, or a general amount of money to put in the conservation fund, which we then could use?
We
It's a
are going to
good
have
question.
potentially have another large ask
Right,
next year.
So we could do both.
right.
Right, is it better to put all your eggs in one basket?
I don't know. I
or
mean,
to
if you
have
do
two
both,
separate
sometimes
ones?
the two conflict with each other, and in competition. I don't know. I'm just asking the question. I don't know what their
Yeah.
best route is, but something that we're talking about it now, even though it's a year from a town vote, but I think coming up with a plan now and laying the seeds, starting soon is a good idea.
I would agree. It's probably time to call the stewardship committee together to kind of hash this out, the Rains Farm Stewardship Committee, to kind of hash out the options and come up with some sort of game plan that the commission can chew on.
In general, I feel that a named project goes further than saying contribute to this general fund.
Conservation fund.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can go either way. I mean, I just.
Yeah, and we will deplete our
Okay.
conservation fund based on
Rider.
Rider,
based on
correct.
rider too.
Correct.
So we definitely have some funding needs, and I think next year that should be prioritized for us for the next 5 years, 10 years. Yeah, we need to keep on this. There'll be more projects that we want to act on, and we don't have any funding.
This is true.
Okay, so that's good. Good points. Because, yeah, budget season comes quick, right? It's like,
It really does, yeah.
it's already
It's already March.
election night, but
Yeah.
It starts tomorrow.
it's the end of it, right? It starts
Yeah,
tomorrow.
get
It
through
does.
this tonight, last.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so trails, it's been wet, trails are muddy, Unitil's gone. Unitil, is there other, oh, it says Unitil, but it's Eversource, or,
Oh, sorry. Yes. Eversource.
The trails are open.
So Eversource wrapped up, the trails are open.
Okay.
I don't know if you've got, oh, Kyle's not here. If you want to talk about the,
Tying it back together.
yep,
It's going to be minor. It's,
Or did you guys go out and look at?
I wrote it.
Yeah.
And, or what I could of it. And what it's mainly going to consist of is there's a couple spots where we got to tie the, some of the existing side trails back into that main artery that runs down the power lines. And then at one spot on that main, on the main artery, there's a fairly extended, maybe from here to the corner, dip where it gets pretty wet, and there's no place to either side to go with it. So we just need to do another one of those rough plank bridges to get over that. Because there's just absolutely no way of draining it. It's always been ridden through, but it just gets torn up, and now's a good opportunity to do it the right way.
Dave, is this at the Sandy Hill where it comes down?
It's just east of that. You go, well, not just east, maybe 100 yards, 150 yards. I think I sent you a photo of that, didn't I? Or maybe I sent it to Toby. I was talking to somebody about it.
I don't know.
Because I rode through there, and they did a nice job of putting everything back together. They they relumbed as best they could, left maybe a 2 foot, maybe 3 foot wide stone path. So it's obvious where to ride. It's a good solid surface. And they did a nice, neat job. So.
The reason I asked about that section is that sandy area is perfect habitat for
Turtles.
Yeah.
Oh, I've
landings.
seen turtles nesting in there before.
Right, that sandy habitat is
Yes.
perfect
Landing in
for
the,
their spotted.
Well, this will be good too, because it'll the stone they put in for their roadway, descends that hill.
Mm-hmm.
And now when they reloam it, it's before the trail went right through the sandy area, and I even had to move a turtle one time because it was trying to nest right in the middle of the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Now since it's compacted gravel, they're not going to be inclined to go in there to try to nest. So I think it'll actually kind of protect them a little bit.
Okay. Good, well, thanks
Did
for
you
going out.
explain that to the turtle?
I did.
Turtle whisperer.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we need more input on that, or I guess the trail for rock riders are?
I think it'll
Discussing that.
it'll get taken care of. I think now that the rug thing's over with tonight, one for good or bad, attention can turn back to getting that done. And I believe we've got the materials to do it already at various spots.
Okay. All right, some more outreach events.
I guess I'd kind of like to walk that section before, so I know where you're talking about,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
I don't know either. I'm trying to picture it.
Yeah.
But you just sprung a question. Do we still have a beaver deceiver out there somewhere? Is it
Yeah.
is it working?
The water stayed down at that long low bridge.
Cool.
Bless you.
So, well, it's kind of up near where where that trail called Parliament comes out.
I don't know those trail names,
Okay.
to be honest, sorry.
Do you want me to take you up there, or
Yeah,
go up with you, or?
Or mark it, because I don't, That's good.
Or do you want me to try to find the photo I took of it and send that to you?
Okay.
I've got it.
Send her a coordinate. You can send
Send a drone up.
pin.
Yeah, I could do that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it was a pic. I was to the west of it, and I took the picture looking back east.
Okay.
Be able to see it. Oh.
Yeah, that's good motivation. I'll try and get up there at some point.
Again,
Okay, any other trail before we get to outreach?
Nope.
I know it's not trails. When do we open up the McDonald gate again?
Yeah, so
April 1st?
the end of March.
End of March, okay.
Yep. Which I need to put a call for gate
Yeah, volunteers,
stewards,
yeah.
which I would open that request up to all of you as well. The people who were helping, so the McDonald Conservation Area off of Linden Street has a gate on it seasonally.
Go ahead.
And we close it because there had been some problems with stuff happening in the parking lot. With the gate closed, you can still use the area and walk through and head in park, but that kind of deters nefarious stuff in the off-season. When we open it, we still close it at night for those same reasons, but we've been doing that gate operation in the mornings and in the evening with the help of Diane Arnheim, who is the property owner of the conservation easement that covers that parking lot, and Bruce White, who lives across the river-ish. And then a couple of volunteers so Diane would close it, but other volunteers would open it every day. Of the 2 volunteers that we had, a household has now moved away, and last year one of the other ones couldn't do it. So I was doing it part of the week, and then the people who have now moved were doing it the rest of it. So I'd prefer to not have to open it each morning, just because it kind of gets in the way of, morning meetings and stuff like that. So I would, if you're interested and available and willing, I would love some support to do that. I will also I did this in the past, but sent out a request on the Facebook page, our Facebook page, but also connected through the community.
Forum?
Yeah, I forget what it's called, the Exeter Community.
Forum?
Oh, forum,
Well,
yeah.
there's 2.
Okay.
There's the community page and then the community
There's a couple,
forums.
yeah.
Well, I don't know which one I did, but that's how I got the stewards initially. So
Yeah.
I'll still do that, but it would be nice to know if there's a need to or not.
So part of that question was when is it scheduled to do the bridge rehab work, a second bridge?
Yeah.
'Cause will they be using that parking lot as the staging area?
They will be using it as a staging area, so that's a really good point.
Do we have a schedule yet on that?
It was it was soon, because we met with Diane a couple weeks back. I don't know, I need to figure that out, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Don.
Because that's how the parking lot got developed anyways, was when they used it as a state, they created
that was the
created when they rebuilt the bridge back in 80-something, I can't remember when. So, okay.
Yeah, I'll find out, because
agree.
there's no need going through that whole process.
Right, it may
So
not,
it's
yeah.
different sort of year for that. I mean, if we can't operate it every day, I don't know. It's important. It's a nice parking area. It's a nice space, but if it's not feasible for us to do it.
I mean, if it came down to no one doing it, no one volunteering, I would do it. It's really heavily used for people who are fishing, and so
Yeah.
I would hate to lose that. When we do close it, I often get calls. In fact, I had a call a bit ago wanting to know when it would open. So I would still want it open during the season, but it adds a layer of complexity.
You got enough going on.
Okay, well, that's good to bring up.
Sorry, thank you.
No, thanks,
I didn't know
Tom.
if it belonged with trails, it's kind of like a trail, there's a
is.
trail there.
Yeah, it definitely is.
This is the trail. All right, so events, we have some events coming up. There was the first Exploring Exeter hiking that Kyle led with Parks and Rec. That was successful from what we hear. Were you there?
I was not there.
Okay. Kyle's not here to report on it, but I think there was a good turnout, and
Yeah.
it was up in Oakland's.
It was in Oakland's. They met at the Watson Road parking lot. There were almost no registrants, but they ended up having, I think, 10 or 12 people show up. So I'm glad that they continued to hold it despite the registrations. So the next one's coming up on March 27th.
And where is that?
It's a very good question.
And who's leading it?
I think Kyle.
Kyle's doing that one
Yes.
too. I think maybe I'm doing April, or
You tell me.
and we need to look at this again. Okay.
We'll work that out by email.
All right. So
They start at 3? They start at 3?
Yeah.
in that, yeah, we've been Parks and Rec has been advertising those.
Yep.
I got lost last year, so,
Oh.
from starting at 3 o'clock
You got lost.
in Pawtuckaway, yeah.
Oh, it's starting at 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. They're not major hikes.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah,
gone.
tuck
for-
away can be confusing, and it's big.
Well, we weren't lost. We just knew we weren't going to get out of
Get out.
Yeah.
in time. We had to
Late.
call the police.
And we
Well,
had
that's the
the
fun part.
time change, so.
Haven't had a ride in the back of a cruiser for a while, but
All right, the herd bird contest is still ongoing.
Yep. So that's supposed to run through the end of the month, so in April we can tally the winners, I suspect. There's not many participants. It's kind of tough to do it in the winter because there's not that much excitement.
Should be
You know.
something coming up, though.
Yeah.
I heard a bluebird
yeah.
last week.
Did you? Yep. And I've
Wow.
seen reports of warblers arriving. I heard a woodcock, which is exciting. Yep.
It's really-
Wow.
So it's very early.
That is
Peep-
early.
I heard peepers.
You did.
The peepers,
heard-
the spring peepers
A-
have.
Possibly a peeper.
The early bird, the early peeper.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
no,
been
that's
waiting to
funny.
hear,
I
man.
heard like
Yeah.
one single one the
It
other
was
night
like-
at like 10 o'clock. I was like, yeah, that's a peeper.
I wonder, there's
It was not a chorus.
There's
But,
warm rain coming Friday. I wonder if that'll trigger them. That's what it usually takes, but usually it's significantly early this year again.
Yeah.
Nothing's iced over, nothing's frozen.
I know in the Monadnock region, they have a fantastic citizen science salamander brigade where they help
Yes.
salamanders cross the
How about
roads.
Kenya,
And
yeah.
the data that they collect, they've even used to close certain municipal roads down seasonally, or not seasonally.
Evening and night.
During migration,
Yeah, migration period.
times. And they actually helped a significant, like the diversity in species was shocking, and as was the numbers. So that was like last Friday, I think. So it's crazy to think how early that is.
yeah.
wow. Okay, so that was the herd bird contest. Seed library.
So the seed library is up and running. It is going to be the student did a great job. It's over, I don't know if you've had a chance to go see it, but it's on a display in the main floor of the library right near the circulation desk. It will be maintained by another volunteer who's a part of Pollinator. We're still a part of Pollinator Pathways of New Hampshire. I tend to go to those. Ginny doesn't necessarily do that anymore, but is still kind of involved in the background. Jody Hernkar, I believe is how you pronounce her name, is actively interested and involved in Pollinator Pathways, attends all of their meetings, and is an Exeter resident. So she will be the volunteer who's helping to maintain that, just make sure the stock is up to date. All of the seeds that are in there, there is some that came from the mixed native pollinator mix that we purchased here for our seed program, but most of it comes from seed that was collected and shared at the Pollinator Pathways seed swap. They had copious amounts of seeds donated this year. It's absolutely fantastic. The diversity of species that they collected. and it's amazing what they're doing. So I'm really excited to have that up and running. And I will, while we're at it, make a plug for the garden club. The local Exeter Garden Club does have pollinator plant grants, and I think it's $100 to $200 for the purchase of native plants. They have about $5,000 total to give away. So if you're interested in increasing native plants in your yard, I would encourage you to apply for that. It's for Exeter residents.
That's the garden club?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They have a huge display about it in the library, but also you can find them online as well.
Okay.
I mean, that's a significant amount, that's a decent amount of plants.
They're plants.
Well, so you would get the grant and go purchase the plants. You just,
Purchase the plants.
Yep.
So they're not seeds, they're plants.
they're plants. Well, yeah, I don't think you can use the grant to purchase seed.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. See, people see more direct result when they're planting,
Yep.
they're putting in plants.
Yep.
Cool. That's great. I haven't heard of that. The film festival?
So the student did a great job. He really put his heart into it. Sean Torres and his family came, which was fantastic. And we had another family come, or another group come, and that was it. It was kind of cruddy turnout, but it was still a great program. We got some donations for HelpSee. So I'm not sure how to continue to market those, but I do really want to continue. I would love it, as I mentioned at the last meeting, I would love it if the Conservation Commission would sort of sponsor one and pair it with the Rain Barrel program. And for that, I would love to work with someone, and maybe our minutes reflected that someone volunteered, but work with someone on picking out a film that kind of goes with that. I have some ideas, but I really haven't nailed that down in a time frame. There's so much going on in the spring with Earth Day and Alewife Festival. Part of me is thinking later, but I know people really want rain barrels, by planting season. So I'm a little bit torn. But maybe whoever is interested in volunteering would help me make that decision.
I was going to ask, you had mentioned a film before.
Yeah, Before the Flood is kind of, or before,
Yeah.
I think it was Before the Flood.
Right. Yeah. How about partnering with CELT? I mean, just to get more people, CELT, or just even putting something up on a bulletin board over there. Or,
Yeah. So CELT has their film festival too.
oh, they do have one.
Yeah, which is
It's
awesome.
April 19th.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's really cool. It's all the wild and scenic films. They purchased the rights to all of them, and it's a bunch of short films. It's totally fantastic, so you should check it out. But, yeah.
The musical.
So I don't know. I'm still interested in pushing something forward, but I might, if there's really not passion to bring it forward in the spring, I would almost prefer to do it like late May or June.
Didn't a couple of years ago, when we did the Alewife Festival, we have film showing later on that day at the library,
Yeah.
Bob Glowacki. But I don't think the turnout was,
It wasn't.
because it was a nice spring day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and everyone wants to be outside.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think in many cases, not that people don't want to see a film about
Right.
the rivers, but they'd rather be outside.
Right.
So maybe these film festivals are better done in the winter, late
Oh,
fall,
that's a point.
when people don't mind being inside.
Yeah, that's a point.
It's, I'm just thinking of, what happened 2 years ago.
Yeah. I think that was so we have had, actually Bob was involved, two pretty successful film festivals, I believe. But I think the pairing with the Alewife Festival was, it was kind of dragging the day on, and that It's just
There's a
hard
lot
to
of reasons,
know.
yeah.
It's so hard to know what people want to do with their free time because people don't have a lot of free time anymore, it seems. Okay.
Okay, so maybe that's gonna get, I kind of like, it seems like we have a lot going on right now.
We
Maybe we
do.
don't need to make ourselves even crazier.
Yeah.
Okay. We got the townwide cleanup coming up in April 15th to 22nd.
Yep, so this is just kind of a DIY sort of cleanup.
Okay.
You can pick up supplies, we've run this a couple years running. You can pick up supplies at Public Works during their work hours, the week leading up to it. And on that Saturday, you can, for free, dump the trash at the transfer station. If you're cleaning up and stuff is too big, or for whatever reason you can't get it there, you can coordinate pickup. Public Works will pick up the stuff roadside. It's really just to kind of get people out and about and kind of caring for the community. And then we had volunteers last year that had a table on Saturday in front of Town Hall that had supplies available then as well. I reached out to her and she is interested in doing that. So she and I might do that on the 15th.
The 15th's a Monday.
Oh, shoot, not the 15th
I
then.
just looked at it.
22nd.
Whatever the Saturday is.
Saturday before and Saturday afterwards.
I'll tell you in a sec, sorry.
The 20th.
The 20th, yeah.
That's great. I know my road needs that desperately. I'm gonna
We
get
actually
out
had a
there.
call about that too, yeah.
It's terrible.
About Brentwood Road, yeah. So along those lines, because part of it is people don't know where to go and to concentrate, so if there are areas, please send those to me.
Yeah.
Great.
Brentwood Road is bad outside of town, pretty much for a while. Half a mile stretch of
Out
beer
of
cans.
town? Or, outside of downtown?
Yeah, like
Gotcha.
past from Colcord Pond, past Colcord,
Gotcha.
from starting at Colcord Pond, heading west.
Okay,
Tough
good.
stretch of road though, people walking it and cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's shoulder. I mean, you can be off the road. It's
Oh, I know,
off
I know.
the road, but yeah.
And Public Works provides vests, and gloves and bags. We did I can't remember, there was one area, that kind of was narrow, and so we had dropped off some cones as well. So I think we can address, safety and still accomplish some stuff there.
Okay, Alewife Festival.
Yeah, so the ALY Festival is planned for May 11th. I need to call together kind of the planning committee again, but Trevor agreed to be there with his prep hat on and reached out to TNC. They're available. I kind of got together the former Healthy Lawns Clean Water Committee, those who are still around, and Kathy Corson is going to do the Healthy Lawns Clean Water table downtown, which is great because we have a lawn care pledge and lawn care signs to promote, new brochures, which is really exciting. And she's also going to talk to RJs to see if they can bring down electric lawnmowers, electric leaf blowers, that kind of thing, so that people could kind of experience what battery packs or, do for that type of equipment. We use a battery snow blower in our home, and it's awesome. I'll never go back to gas.
Yeah, we bought a battery operated from 5JC, battery operated lawnmower last year. and
Yeah,
Ellen loves it.
it's awesome.
I don't use it. I never use it.
Yeah, it's so much lighter, manageable,
Yeah.
and
No, I mean, really, battery goes
Brilliant.
hour and a half.
yeah.
It's really convenient.
And
They really
then,
come a long way with those.
and then we upgraded, or it stayed in that same brand and got a chainsaw, like a massive chainsaw, and it works better than our gas chainsaw ever did because it always starts. It's just, anyway, so, yeah, so I
They
think
could do
that's
that, that'd be good,
exciting.
The fun's gone.
Bob and I walked the site. There's plenty of capacity table-wise
Yeah,
to
yeah,
open it up
Mm-hmm.
wider. Valerie has been taking flyers to the downtown businesses, trying to get some collaboration with them. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm missing, but, oh, Bob had some great ideas of reaching out to, to Center for Wildlife, for example. Lots of times they bring critters in, and so they do charge for that. So if, depending on what that cost is, if you think it's valuable, I might bring back a cost request to you guys at the next meeting, which would be April. And I think that could really be a cool draw to get people downtown. So the stewards are not, the Great Bay stewards aren't available. I've checked, anyway, we don't need to step through all that, but there does seem to be a lot of interest. I've not reached out to local artists. If any of you want to do that, I don't know if you see them around or communicate with them, but we get so much wildlife photography happening in our downtown area, along Swayze, Exeter. And people keep saying names to me, but I don't know these folks. So if you do or happen to run into them.
Well, I could get a hold of Annie Brown.
She does a lot, too.
She does a lot of the photography and painting.
Okay.
She does landscape design work for me for the nursery. So I see her all the time. You want me to ever get a hold of you?
Sure, yeah. And I mean, I feel like it can be, I'm fine if it includes vendors, we talked about that as part of the expansion. She knows all the other people that are involved in that too. That would be great. I would love that.
There's a whole little community of them.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
What other? I think that pretty much covers it. There's a lot going on with that.
Okay.
Oh,
do you want to do another meeting?
Yes, I need to.
Okay.
The select board, I submitted the paperwork for select board review and approval to reserve. The site is available, so I submitted the paperwork. It'll go to the select board on Monday. Oh, yeah.
This is the,
Use application or
no, I mean, where are we having it?
a Founder's Park.
Same place, okay, found it.
Founder's Park. So we need a permit application and a park use, special use permit.
I think it's worked out well. It's a cozy little spot,
Yeah.
right on the river,
Right.
right off of downtown.
Yep.
So,
Fish and Game will be there with the fish. Bob and I were talking today just to get your thoughts about this. Maybe having scheduled speakers just doesn't make sense at all. Like, just have Fish and Game talking as people come through. It seems to match the flow of the event better than having this big microphone welcome and speech. You guys have thoughts about that? I feel like the messaging will happen at the tables.
Yeah, not have a break for a introduction and all that. It's just, it's the event is just come and check out the tables.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yep, totally agree.
Keep it
let it
simple.
flow.
That's how it will be.
It's natural flow,
Great, thank you.
like the river.
All right. And then the counting citizen science project has.
So, I mean, this is a Fish and Game baby. It's not really ours, but I feel like we can do our best to promote volunteerism. So they, and everything is coming so quickly. So they have, well, let me just describe it first for those who aren't aware and all of our audience on TV. So Fish and Game is looking for citizen science volunteers to help do the river herring count. And so it would be timed counts on Great Bridge. You're not in the water or anything like that. And you're just counting for 10 minutes. The challenge is it needs to happen 7 days a week for essentially 2 months straight, 9 times a day. Fish and Game is covering a portion of those. And so I just kind of threw together something to advertise it. And we've already had 15 people, I guess, email Fish and Game, which is really cool. We're trying to nail down a date for the training, and then there will be training ongoing as needed. So we don't have a date yet.
But you have people.
But we need to start in April.
Well, yeah, probably, because it might be an early run this year. The counting will take place from Great Bridge?
From Great Bridge. And it's time counts. It's exactly, they have a whole science protocol that they're bringing, that I guess has been implemented in Massachusetts and other places. I'm not a statistical person. I don't know.
Well, I'm just
some sort of random stratified.
Can you really see the herring from?
Yes. Yes.
From Great Bridge.
From Great Bridge.
Not Spring Bridge.
Yes, from Great Bridge. I can't, because I can't see over the railing, but people can. Yes.
Don't laugh. Don't laugh.
It's true.
I'm almost trying to take water samples there.
It's so
I don't know where you get that bucket all the way down.
I'll need a milk crate donation for my participation. Yeah. Anyway, so it's exciting. I think it has potential to really be a cool project. This is kind of a pilot approach. At the end of the day, if we don't get full volunteer coverage, they're still covering what they would have covered without us. So all of that is good. It's just kind of to supplement and enhance the value and accuracy of the data. So.
And your commitment is for 2 hours on a day?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. That's all you got to do. Wow. And so they're working on advertising through Nature Groupie. We'll do a push through, we'll do a push through hopefully the biweekly report. The signups will happen, there'll be an online sign-up format where you can go in and put your name down for whatever day of the week, whatever sampling time frame.
So we can't do the count from the deck of the Sea Dog?
No.
While having a cold one?
No. I was kind of thinking it would be cool. So one of the challenges is, I'll save that for another day. Well, no, that's stupid to do. I will say that.
Let it out. Yeah, let it out.
Tell us how you're really feeling.
So one of the challenges is you can't show up at the same time every day because there needs to be some randomization about it. And so I was like, well, people should say what time they're coming, but somehow that messes up the statistics. And so there's potential for 2 people to show up at String Bridge to count at the same time, which I think would be very frustrating if I was like, I'm going to go count and someone's counting. So then I thought, how cool would it be if we bought 20 Stillwells or Laney and Lou or something gift cards? They'd go into the library if someone's counting, go grab a free coffee and then come back 10 minutes later. But I don't know how to make that happen.
Well, it's only, you said it's 6 times a day?
9.
9 times a day.
It does say 6 to 9 on the flyer.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, the chance of overlap is pretty slim, though.
I bet everyone's going to show up when school lets out. I bet everyone's going to show up after work. Everyone's going to show up at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Could we get a live feed to
Oh my God.
Just maybe an underwater camera.
Use some AI into this?
Yeah, I don't know about any of that. I mean, the reality of all of this is it's almost April.
Yeah.
Right. We'll be lucky if we get all of those, the training and all of that in place. So
Well, this
I
is
can't
Fishing
handle.
Game. Yeah, this isn't your burden. That's
No,
Fishing Game.
I know.
Yeah.
It should be going the other way by the time we're scheduled.
No, it'll happen. It'll happen.
Well, as it gets closer and Fish and Game finds out what they get for a response, send an email out to us.
They'll figure it out.
And if additional slots are needing to be filled, then people can respond. Let's see how
Yeah, I mean-
let's see how they do first.
I agree. Yeah, I'll advertise it on Facebook and through the biweekly report and our website, but I'm not going to be knocking on doors trying to find volunteers. I'll do my best, but I don't want to be receiving a bunch of emails of people interested. It all needs to be funneled through Fish and
Right.
Game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to monitor to be sure we've got the coverage type thing, you know.
Their responsibility.
But it's a great project, and I'm super excited. Yes, yes.
Okay, so changing gears slightly, the dam removal pickpocket feasibility study meeting went well. I heard, I wasn't able to attend it, but I know Trevor was there, Kyle was there.
Oh, wait.
I was there.
I did watch it, right.
Yeah, I meant to watch it and I haven't. I will. Any news from that? It seemed like.
I mean, I think it was well attended. You had people speaking on both sides of the issue, as you would expect. It was recorded for people who missed it, like you said, Michelle. The comment period is now open on the draft report, and it closes March 21st. There's an email on the flyer that you can submit comments to. I think it's just pickpocket at exeternh.gov, but double check that. And so, yeah, this is the type of thing that we need feedback and we need public comment, and I think it's a matter of getting the word out to your friends and neighbors and discussing the project and talking about the pros and the cons, and hopefully, yeah,
There was a lot of passion in the room
there
that
was.
night, and it's understandable. We went through it on kind of a scale in Exeter back about 2014, 2015. So, understand that change is difficult. And, none of us like change, including me. So, I understand the people who are passionate about keeping the dam and those who are passionate about taking the dam out. So, at the end of the day, I mean, I hope that the right decision will be made moving forward. That, you're not going to make everybody happy, but I think, we can get close to satisfying everybody's needs. And I think the River Study Committee is meeting next week, Trevor?
The 21st.
I think it's the 21st. I think it's when public, yeah, that's the Thursday. Yeah, it should be the same day that
I think
public comment
they'll be
closes.
reviewing that again, won't they?
Yep,
So,
yep.
is it 3 o'clock on Thursday?
Generally 3 o'clock, yep, 3 to 4-ish.
And I think the Exeter River Local Advisory Committee will be discussing that to some extent next week,
Oh,
next Tuesday evening, I believe. I don't know where yet. We haven't determined where the meeting is.
Are those public meetings?
Yeah.
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 and at one point they requested, that was Lamprey. Because the Exeter position is filled by you, right? Or do we have two Exeter,
No, we only have one right now.
but availability for?
It's availability up to 4.
Oh,
It's more than one, yeah.
yeah.
Lamprey, we had someone, but then we don't have anybody on the Lamprey.
Right, Todd represented the
Yes, he
town
did
for
for
a
a long
while on the
time, yeah.
Lamprey.
Right, we had a rep come last year to advocate for us
Right.
to join.
Right.
So we have 4 potential seats on that?
I think so. Because at one time I know we had 3. One time it was, I think it was myself, Pete Richardson, and John Henson were all serving.
Huh.
So,
And is it
I can double check.
Teresa is still involved? Teresa is still involved?
We hired Teresa to kind of be our coordinator
Okay.
from, well, she works for us, but Teresa
RPC,
from, from the economic, what's it called?
RPC.
RPC, yeah. Yes, and she does a great job.
Yeah,
I mean, she's our glue.
good. But you could use more folks if anyone here wants to join.
Yeah, we're having an issue, trying to get people upriver too. It's, some of the smaller uptown river towns,
Okay.
because we include places like, Raymond, Chester, Fremont, yeah. So, again, that's like we see that everywhere. It's tough to get volunteers now. And people are stretched, and understandable. And so, I mean, even in Exeter, we have a lot of committees that are short of active volunteers. That's why it is impressive. Dave was impressed tonight because I think the Conservation Commission has maintained a pretty strong group over the years. You're having trouble with the heritage, right? Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, there was a warrant article to reduce the amount of people on the Heritage Commission so they could have a quorum.
That's it.
Yeah. So
We've been lucky here to keep it full.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because we're involved and there's a lot going on, I think, to keep interest going. So, partly thanks to everyone's efforts here. Okay, so that's a good update on the dam removal. I had the other update was a sad update on my favorite event of the year, the snowshoe. It was sad, there was no snow and no one showed up. It was just Kyle and I there in the parking lot. So it was a sad full moon for me last month. But there's always next year.
That's right. The moon will be there.
The moon will be out again.
we're creating a high tide.
We can count on the moon.
That's true.
We'll have to make it a kayak run.
Okay, are there any other updates?
There's lots going on in all the other committees. I gave kind of a snapshot for some of their
Can I ask a
high
question?
level-
What
Yeah.
is window dressers?
Yeah, so that's
No
another
idea.
exciting program that the Energy Committee and Sustainability Committee are working to bring to town. It's an organization that's completely volunteer driven. They do a lot of work in Maine and Vermont. And I think there's only one other community in New Hampshire. But basically what you do, if you think of like the barn raising scenario where people all get together and construct something, it's like that, but you're building window inserts, reusable window inserts. So it's a frame and a double-sided plastic film that you insert into your windows and can realize like up to 20% savings on your
I see.
utilities.
Oh, okay.
But instead of using the plastic film that you blow dry on and then tear down and throw away, these, if you're storing them correctly, you can reuse them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Window Dressers organization itself, basically you have a local team who coordinates going into residents' homes and doing the measurements of the windows, explaining the price to them. They're pretty economical. And if there are economic reasons you can't afford them, they also provide them for free for low-income folks in order to still achieve, energy savings. And so it's really a cool concept because it's so volunteer driven. The construction is very simple. They have all these forms, so you don't have to be good at building. Like you just lay things where they belong in this form and, voila, you built something. So we're, number one, applying for a grassroots grant to help fund the expense for the low-income window inserts. And then we're reserving town hall for, I think it's a 5-day build. And so part of the commitment when you're purchasing the window inserts is you're also committing for like every 3 inserts 5 hours or 4 hours of volunteer labor, of your volunteer time helping to construct for others. It's really a cool concept, and just the energy savings to me is incredible, like 20%. I know in our house we do that, hair dryer approach, and it does make a huge difference, but it does stink to throw them away at the end of the year. So if you have cats, however, which we do, you do not want to invest in these because they're not resistant to the kitty claw. So, but yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, no,
very
thanks for
exciting.
I had never heard of it.
Yeah.
I've heard of that in a group in Montpelier, Vermont, doing that.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
So the energy group's spearheading this?
So their the
Electric
energy
plugs.
committee spearheading it with
Right.
energy and SAC, but obviously they need help with the team that's kind of coordinating and overseeing and driving this volunteer labor source and the measuring and all of that. So if you are passionate about it, please reach out to me. They're trying to assemble right now kind of the leadership team.
So then the build would be in the fall, ahead of next winter.
Yeah, so we're actually aiming for a January build just because that'll give opportunity to go to other builds and learn the techniques and get some lessons learned from them, and buys us enough time to kind of organize around the, getting enough people who want to insulate their windows, etc. And Town Hall, as you know, gets kind of busy for, the tree festival and others, so January will get us past that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Should we approve the minutes, unless there's anything else?
I'll note on the minutes that my name is not in the present at tonight's meeting.
And my
I was there.
name is, so you can just do a little swap there.
Oh,
So
Oh,
Connor Madison does not need to be there,
that's right.
but Nick can be.
Well, it's funny, yeah. I was like, I was there, right? And then I read the minutes. It's like, oh yeah, I was definitely there.
I did the same thing. I went back my calendar. I was like, I wasn't there, right?
Oh, yeah, because you're down below, but you're not on the top.
Yep.
Great. Easy fix.
Yeah, you're the first one in motion. Nicely done.
That was maybe a
motivated.
cut and paste issue. Wow. All right. I didn't notice anything. I didn't pick up on that.
Looked great to me otherwise.
We'll call you the twins, interchange.
I'll motion that we approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Anyone abstaining?
I can abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, we have 2 abstentions, so motion passes 5-0-2. Our next meeting is April 9th. 4 weeks away. Hope everyone has a good rest of their March. And otherwise, anything else? No?
No.
All right, I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned.
TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.